Welcome back, my dear friends, to Unfiltered, your favorite craft beer podcast. I am your co-host, Sam J. Normally I'm joined by Jay Schrader, but Jay could not make it this week, so I went solo to Baere Brewing Company and talked to co-founder and co-owner Ryan Skeels and head brewer Matt Schenck about Baere. If you are in the Denver metro area, you've probably heard of Baere. I have been there, a dozen times. I've been there with my wife and friends. Fantastic little spot there on Broadway. For those of you outside of Denver, you may have still heard of it because it has a bit of a cult following. Their beer is fantastic. They have specialized in fruited sours, but I had the fortune of dabbling in some IPAs and hazy IPAs, and they were fantastic. But alas, I'm going to stop talking and let those two get to it and tell their story about how Baere got started and how they've been obviously dealing with COVID and all those other fun things. But Ryan and Matt were fantastic guests, and really hope you'll enjoy the show because I had a blast talking to them. And if you are in the Denver metro area, Baere Brewing Company is a must-stop. This episode is brought to you by Elon Naturals. Handcrafted in Boulder, Colorado, Elon's all-natural products are made with CBD extracted from Colorado-certified hemp. Ryan and Alec Nyberg, good friends of ours, founders and co-owners of Elon, as well as big supporters of craft beer, including being supporters of the SIP Beer Fest we did earlier this year, use no toxins, no chemicals, and only certified organic ingredients in everything that they make. Whether you're looking for bath bombs, foot soaks, lip balms, pain sticks, or tinctures, Elon has you covered. And they make pet products too. Find Elon Naturals on Instagram and Facebook and place your order now at elonnaturals.com. When you do, plug in the promo code Unfiltered20 at checkout for 20% off your order. Again, that's Unfiltered20. Plug it in at checkout at elonnaturals.com for 20% off your order. This episode is also brought to you by RoofTech Precision Exteriors. Founded by a fourth-generation roofing expert and two veteran general contractors, RoofTech combines unmatched residential and commercial roofing knowledge with project management excellence, which means that your next roofing project will not only be handled by those that know what they're doing, but know how to complete your project without wasting your time. Find RoofTech on Instagram and Facebook and learn more at rooftechco.com. That's ROOFTECCO.com. And when you schedule your roof replacement project, mention Unfiltered and receive a free upgrade to impact-resistant Class 4 shingles. I have no idea what that means, but it sounds like it's a hell of a deal. Again, that's rooftechco.com. You still have to stand out in the... Very fortunate today, everybody, to be at Baere Brewing. One of my favorite spots. I'm not just bullshitting you two. Love this place. It's close to my work, down here at Metro. Do you know Jared Ellis? Yeah. Yes. Okay. So Jared,
he's done some important work for us.
Yes. Jared is a good friend of Jay and I's, and I think he's the one who introduced us to this, and I've been here a dozen times since. So, gentlemen, can you introduce yourself? We'll start here.
Yeah, I'm Ryan Skeels. I'm co-founder, managing partner of Baere Brewing, and wear too many hats.
Yeah.
And I guess that's about it.
Before we move on, what's the address? Because I'd like to tell people where
we're at 320 North Broadway, Denver, Colorado.
So close to the theater. What's the theater called? The Mayan.
Mayan Theater, yeah.
Mayan.
We are next to the busiest car wash in Denver, I believe, across the street from a 7-Eleven, and tucked in a nice shake and or shingled strip mall.
Love it. I love this place. And you're close to Bandit Oak, too.
Bandit Oak, Novel Strand, and True.
Yeah, very close. And you, good sir?
I'm Matt. I have been with Baere now just over 4 years. I'm the head brewer, and then just kind of fill in and help out with whatever else needs to be done. And
I'm going to scoot you a little closer to that mic, buddy. No, Matt, I met you, it was fucking months ago before the Rona.
Yeah.
You were behind the bar.
Yep.
You were serving.
Yeah, I usually, during this, it's a little different, so I've just been back only, but before COVID, I would always spend my Fridays pouring beer and hanging with customers. And
what are brew days for you guys then?
Like which days of the week?
Yeah.
Any of 5. Between Monday and Friday.
Okay. All right. Makes
it always
sense.
varies, yeah.
Well, let's continue this thing. So thank you for the introduction, gentlemen. Ryan, I'm going to turn it to you. Can we get the start of the Baere Brewing story? So how did you get up and running? You say you're one of the founders. Who are the other founders?
Yeah, another guy, Kevin Greer, and I started it. We met through my wife went to school with him. My now wife at the time, she wasn't, but grew up with him and knowing him. So we were just at a party one day at his house, and we both were home brewing at the time, and that's when like nano breweries were the term got coined.
Yeah.
And so I just asked what he thought about it, and said he was into it. And then 2.5 years later, we opened our doors.
So what year was that then that you opened?
2014, July 5th.
Now, is this technically a nano brewery?
Yeah, I think we're still considered that.
Okay.
We brewed 2.5 barrels at a time, and we brew less than 400 barrels a year.
Okay, so that makes total sense. What were you? So you said you were brewing previously. What was your introduction to brewing? Brewing. Wow.
I went to college in Fort Collins,
Okay.
and met a dude up there, and we would brew beer and make pizza like once a month.
Yeah.
And then have some friends in Santa Fe that were brewing beer.
Okay.
And then here's a plug for Groupon, which
Yeah.
I don't really like to plug them, but
let's
got
Groupon
my
the shit out of
first
it.
homebrew kit from Brew Hut at Dry Dock through Groupon.
Okay.
2008 or something like that.
All right. And so, okay, so let's kind of. I got to talk to both of you here, but I want to know what was the beer that made you switch from, you're from Colorado, a Coors Light, to actually good beer. I shouldn't say that. Coors Light is terrible.
I do remember my very first beer was a Bud Light that we took from my friend's parents at a Super Bowl party in high school.
Okay.
And then a couple years later, Red Hook ESB I bought. I worked at Wendy's, and one of the guys would buy us beer. And so, I drank a Red Hook ESB to bring in the year 2000 when the world was supposed to fall apart previously.
Wait. So who would buy the beer? I think we're beyond the statute of limitations here. Was it a manager?
Yeah, he was a shift manager. Yeah.
Okay, well,
as long as we bought him like a 40, he'd buy us whatever we wanted.
Holy shit. That is...
I can't even imagine doing that as someone who's over 21 now. Like,
How much older was this cat?
I don't know, maybe 20 years or something.
Oh my god! But I mean, he's basically running the show at a Wendy's. So
yeah. But then growing up in Fort Collins, or going to school in Fort Collins, 1554 and Odell IPA were always the ones.
Yeah.
For sure.
Odell is just fucking flying off shelves still. Every liquor store owner, I mean, this COVID, like you said, hoppy beers tend to be really popular right now.
Yeah.
Do we just want more alcohol, gentlemen? We're home. Yeah. Our significant others are counting our beer intake, and you can get more bang for your buck.
That's true.
I only had one.
Oh shit. Okay, so we'll stop there.
Okay.
Matt, your entry into beer, because I know it's a little bit different. You're not from here, right? If I remember correctly.
Right.
You ain't from here.
Grew up in Southern Illinois, basically, but 20 minutes from St. Louis.
Okay.
And my first craft beer experience actually was because of a trip to Estes Park to visit a friend's brother that lived out there.
All right.
And as soon as we walked in the door, there was an old chub in our hands.
Wow.
And so that was my first intro, and I was just completely wowed by beer with flavor. Like, I had a hard time, drinking just domestics and stuff at college parties and all that.
Yeah.
And so as soon as I turned 21, a few months after that, every week was buying something new and just trying anything and everything from that point on.
Where'd you go to school then?
Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville.
Okay, so that makes total sense. My wife's from St. Louis, so I'm familiar with the area. I kind of understand.
Yeah.
So what brought you out here then? Obviously, you knew people out here, but what brought you out here for good?
There was a chain of events where just weirdly was perfect timing. I was working at a small brewery in Southern Illinois that the owners were at the point of they just started families and both had other job promotions and couldn't handle a business anymore, so they wanted to sell. And I had a contracting job with the government that was expiring at the new year as well. So it was all right around Christmas, and like January 4th or 5th, I packed up and just moved to Colorado.
This way.
Just up and moved, and had a couple friends that had a spot for me because I really wanted to stay in craft beer, and the St. Louis scene was kind of hard to get into without like the connections of who you know. So I always wanted to live out here, and if I didn't do it then, I wasn't ever gonna. So it was no turning back, and loved every minute of it.
This tends to be as far west as us Midwesterners come. I'm from Iowa, and there's a shitload of Iowa people. There's a lot of Missouri people. I think we believe that we're close to the ocean, and we just kind of stop here and then going
those
back.
Mountains are pretty tall. It's hard to get by.
They are, for sure. Okay, awesome. So okay, perfect. Thank you too for those kind of introductions. Now back to the business of it. Everything here, Ryan. Okay,
Sure.
so you guys you're kind of you're home brewing. You're making some beer. You got your beer kit. At what point did you move from this is a hobby to this is something that you want to do, and why here?
When we got our first loans from our friends and family, it became very real,
Okay.
I would say. And
Okay.
then when we signed the lease,
Yeah.
it was just kind of like shades of realizing what we'd just done.
Okay.
And then at the time, Denver had less than 20 breweries for sure. Like OMF had just opened.
Mm-hmm.
True had opened a year and a half before us. Epic was starting to get built, I believe.
Okay.
And then we opened, and then 65 other breweries opened in the next couple years. And so I don't know if we would have done it still if it was like 2.5 years later, but I'm glad we did.
For sure. What was around here? Was there anything on this strip or in this area? Or were you in Baker technically? Or what? I mean,
That's kind of a point of contention between the Baker Historic District and where we are. But yeah, I mean, growing up, you'd call this even South Broadway, even though we're on North Broadway, But definitely South Broadway. They're trying to brand it as the heart of Broadway now, because Ellsworth and Broadway is the 0-0 block.
Okay.
So we could say we're in the heart of Broadway. Boost that branding.
I feel very special then. I'm right here in the heart of Broadway.
Yeah.
So is Bandit Oak considered heart of Broadway? Because we did an interview with those guys.
Yeah, I think it goes to 6th.
Okay.
6th
So right
Avenue
there.
is what they're doing, and then Alameda.
So you mentioned all these breweries that were opening, or sorry, that there weren't a shitload going on at that time. Why did you choose here though, when you opened up? Other than just straight economics.
Yeah, we were looking just at properties around. We had this guy, Forrest Bassett, that has helped a lot of breweries open over the years.
Okay.
And he just showed us locations. We looked down past even Black Project. Black Project had just opened. We helped them move some of their equipment in, and Grandma's house was starting to go up. And then I can't remember all the locations we looked at, but this one just seemed cool. It was a black belt school. It was a jiu-jitsu location before we went in. So it was just had this horrible drop ceiling. It had been vacant for a year and a half, I think, before we came in. And so
did you keep the writing on that door?
Yeah.
Oh, I was so confused.
Yeah. So one of our doors says this is a black belt school, and it did say it in the brew house too, but we had to cover it up with FRP to be able to keep it clean.
Sorry.
No, that's good. And we have good rent for, Denver was really starting to go up around then.
Yeah.
I wanted to look at the space OMF is in, and one day I rode my bike by, and the 3 guys who started our mutual friend were standing in there with blueprints. And I was like, I bet they're about to open a brewery.
So you just knew? You just knew?
I mean, because Larimer had nothing on it at the time when we were starting, except for Larimer Lounge.
How fortuitous, then, for you to pick this place, right? Like, this has to be significant in the success that you've had. I mean, I would say that Baere Brewing is kind of a cult. You have a cult following, at least amongst beer drinkers like myself. People like to come here. They like to be here. And And again, we're not in Rhino. We're not in up in Lowhigh or what is it? The other one, the Highlands. We are in a very busy street, right, with a lot of things that aren't breweries around here. And
Right.
so, do you feel like the success that you've had has to do with that selection of a location?
I think,
Or maybe you're not successful.
I mean, well, we're still here for 6 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'd say probably, like, we have a very good neighborhood group of regulars, you know.
Okay.
I think being this close to neighborhoods of people that are privileged enough to have the money to buy craft beer on a near daily basis, you know,
Yeah.
and they like to walk around, like, is definitely very helpful. We have a parking lot, even though it's not really that easy to find parking. I think that gives people the idea that they'll be able to, like, get in here easier than a lot of places with no parking lots, you know?
Yeah.
And then, honestly, a gas station across the street. People are filling up their cars and looking across the street. We have a laundromat in the strip mall.
Yeah.
We have a nail salon in the strip mall. So it's just kind of like, I think it's just worked out. And then we've become known for sour beer over the years, and that helps too, because there's still people that like sour beer.
Was the attraction to sour beer or that kind of, I guess, that theme something that drew you here, Matt, or was it? It's a brewery. I need a job. What's the story?
Yeah, no. Right when I moved here, I was working for Breckenridge.
Okay.
When they were on Calumet, and one of the line leads, I had brought some beer in from St. Louis, and one was like a, kettle sour Berliner Weiss with fruit style beer, but he immediately told me, he's like, hey, if you haven't checked out Baere Brewing, you have to go there. You got to get their Berliner Weiss. So immediately after work, I headed down. So that was my first experience at Baere. Was not too long after I'd moved here, and I was completely blown away. It was just much more unique than what I had experienced with like an entry level, like people getting into like that style, quick souring, but it just stood out with way more unique flavor, and so I was definitely hooked at that point and made this a pretty frequent stop after work and with friends.
Knowing that you're in the front and the back, when most folks come in for the first time, do they know that you have that kind of that reputation, or is it more, it's a craft brewery, I'm going to go in there? Like, what kind of conversations are you having at the bar?
I feel like it's probably like heavier on the percentage of people that just see it as a craft brewery, and then conversations start from there of like, well, what's your favorite, or what are you guys known for? And then they see our tap list with 16 beers and then another 12 in bottles that's in addition to that. They get even more intrigued into trying the variety that we have, because we do have a really nice variety of stuff that I think somebody that is just looking for something easy or something complicated, or there's something on the list for everybody. And so a lot of the conversations just start with that. And then a lot of people, with the sour beer still are like, I don't know about that. So we make our own house-made Woodruff syrup. And we add that, a little splash of that into Berliner Weiss, and it gives it a perceived sweetness, takes away the bite of the sour, and adds like some really beautiful like honey apple pie kind of character flavor.
Right.
And most people, once they try that, are completely blown away by it and are into it. And at that point, venture out into trying just the beer as it is, and then the fruited sours that we have, and then moving into the more complex barrel-aged sours. So, it just really starts out as a conversation with the visitors that come in, and giving them a splash of something here or there that you think they might like based on what they are used to. So,
what are you doing now in the back in terms of fruited sours? Anything kind of fun that you're experimenting with, or?
Right now, we have a passion fruit goza going. We did that for the first time last month, and it went over really well. Normally, we've always just done a dry hop goza, which is like definitely one of the house favorites. Tends to move a little slower because people confuse hops automatically with bitterness, no matter if it's in sour or not.
Yeah.
Until they try it, then they realize it just really adds like a beautiful, like fruity note to it. We used it with passion fruit to kind of that salt, hoping to give it some balance from that extra tartness that you get from passion fruit. So we have that going. We have a collab with a bottle shop. What is it called? Mile High Cellars, where they had a single barrel rye whiskey or bourbon. Bourbon from Laws.
Okay.
And so they gave us the barrel and chose a Sour Brown, our Bruin series.
Yeah.
A particular barrel they really loved. So then we moved that beer into this freshly emptied 4-grain bourbon barrel,
Okay.
store select for them, and let it sit there for a while, give it a lot more complexity in terms of oak and those bourbon notes. Some vanilla really came through and some like toffee character. And then they wanted to do a double cherry version. So it's right now conditioning on top of some tart cherry puree. So
Christ, that sounds amazing.
That one's probably our fun one right now that's sitting in.
Yeah, we kind of forgot about the barrel. So it was in there for 2 years. It's good.
Yeah, we had a lot of delays with barrel aged stuff in general when COVID happened because people weren't buying that particular stuff to go. You can't really engage with customers at that point to, have them try these things and explain to them what's going on. So now we're kind of trying to get back into focusing on some of those and finding some bottle dates to get some things in bottles again. And
That's rad. When you opened up, Ryan, were you thinking this kind of experimentation? What in terms of styles, in terms of your brand, what were you thinking when you opened up?
I've thought about that a lot over the last few months.
How many years later?
Like we did a lot of pilot brews as we were like building out and trying to figure out what we wanted the theme kind of our beers to be, if we even wanted a theme. And definitely Saison was big for us at the time. Tank 7, Saison DuPont, those were all big. Crooked Stave was just kind of ramping up when we were starting this process. So their Valle and Surette were big for us. And then Kevin brewed Berliner Weiss at his house. He had it actually at his wedding in bottles.
Okay. Wow.
And then I had brewed a couple beers that are still with us too. But also the Sour Hour podcast, because we brewed Berliner Weiss, we definitely had an interest in, and we liked La Folie and Love Child from Boulevard, and we always went to the big beers festivals, which people would send sour beer. It was one of the only places at the time to find sour beer. Okay. So it was just really cool what everyone was doing, There's often talk these days about how craft beers lost the craft, and so in thinking about that, maybe it is true to a point, but we're trying to get back into that craft. And so when Sour Hour came out, it was just super interesting to hear everyone's experiences with all the different stuff they were trying. And then we got, we made friends with the guys at Stranahan's. And, got a quote-unquote Colorado whiskey barrel and barrel-aged that, and we didn't want to get rid of the barrel. So we thought we'd do mixed culture fermentation in it.
Okay.
And then that actually turned out, and that just kind of lit the fuse to keep going.
Matt kind of answered it, but in your opinion, I'm assuming the regulars who come in here know that's part of your identity. Mm-hmm. But in terms of what you're seeing with numbers and consumption numbers and all of this, are you selling a lot of that stuff? It's still, what's going on prior to COVID? We'll jump into COVID now,
sure.
But
I should look. We definitely, another unfortunate side of it is some people think all we make is sour beer.
Yeah.
They don't like sour beer, and at least 12 of our beers of the 16 on tap are not sour. So that is the flip side of, being known. I guess it's like an IPA brewer being known for IPA, but they also make awesome lagers or something
other stuff
too, So, there's a niche market of people that come here just to try sour beer,
Okay, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
How do you select your barrels? Because if folks can't see, I'll put some pictures up. But you do have a kind of nice little collection of barrels, but what goes into the selection of them? Anything?
We're good friends with Laws.
Okay.
So it's kind of sometimes experimental or rare stuff.
Yeah.
They mention they might be emptying it soon and ask if we're interested. It seems like a lot of the cases.
Okay.
So
Yeah, they made an Amaro. One of their distillers, Sam, he made an Amaro like 2.5 years ago because he was always experimenting with Amaro and.
What's that mean? I don't know what that means.
Amaro's like
We don't pretend to know what the fuck we're
it's an
talking about.
herbal liquor.
Okay.
Similar to what is
Like amaretto?
the
No,
like
no.
Underberg and I can't remember the names of
Yeah.
all these liquors now. Just a lot of botanicals.
Okay,
A ton
okay.
of botanicals.
Okay.
And so, we got that one barrel that we're going to put some beer in that we collabed with them on. And otherwise, for barrel-aged sour beer, you don't really want any character other than the oak. Or
Yeah.
At least we don't look for that.
Yeah.
So we just started getting Laws barrels and aging clean beer in them, and then the barrels are great. So we just started mixed fermenting in them, and
Okay.
then it's just a petri dish,
Just like that.
So yeah, we're not like the stout people who are like going and sniffing a ton of different aged like whiskey barrels and stuff to see what would go well with that. At least not yet. We do have 6 barrels full of imperial stout right now.
Ooh, nice.
So we're dipping our toe in the water.
I dig it.
Yeah.
The setup that you have, Matt, how much does it, we have done several nano breweries, I guess, now that I know. I mean, this is the name of it. I forget to kind of bring that back. But I often forget to ask this question. How much experimentation or how much kind of leeway are you given when you have this kind of setup, to kind of try different ideas?
and it's kind of like, what do we all feel like would be cool to go in this now? So yeah, there's been a lot of just conversation among us, and then throwing some tart saisons in there or grisette style beers and just variations on golden sour as well, some rye and wheat heavy varietals, different ABVs. So just been kind of a collaborative pitch an idea. We know we have this barrel, and what is different that can fit the profile or fill in a gap that is something unique to what we do, but still different. So
For those of you who don't see the video, when you come in here, it's definitely the barrels that you have. I don't know whether it's on purpose or not, but they're central to the aesthetic of this place, and even the kind of walls. And it makes total sense, right, that you would really focus on, or that the selection of barrels and the barrels you choose are extremely important to the beer that you make. So I get that. That's awesome.
yeah,
That's cool.
It is awesome.
I don't mean to, be boring or to have that awkward pause, but okay. I mean, it's perfect. But okay, should we fill up?
We have 51. Yeah, let's fill up.
Let's
we
fill
have
up.
51 oak barrels in here, which is a lot.
Because we need to fill up because now we got to talk about the Rona.
Okay,
Now we got to talk about what's happening.
It's a hot topic. These
It
days.
is, and as you alluded to before we started recording, it may or may not happen again with the shutdown. I guess let's just go to you, Matt. How important was your ability to not just work back of house but front of house to continuing to work here over the last 4 months? I assume it's been extremely important, right? Not to say that he would lay you off or anything, but it's hard for a brewery owner right now.
Yeah.
Might lay myself off. Yeah.
yeah, no shit. All right, what are we drinking here? Oh, this is
That's Proceed to Memory. That's a beer. Well, I'll let Matt tell you about that beer.
Let me explain, good sir.
So it's in the realm of West Coast IPA, where we've always done C3 PA, very classic Chinook, Centennial, and Cascade. But I was like, we had time to fill a tank with something new, and I was like, let's work on getting another West Coast that's just like really present times with like cool hops, so to speak.
Yeah.
And
So good.
just very aromatic, but still well balanced. So we started out with just kind of a base of Strata and Citra, and then the malt bill at the time had a little bit of caramel malt in it, and first batch was really good, but it just felt like it was still missing something and a little heavier on the malt. So we just played around, got rid of the caramel malt, added Munich and a little Vienna in there, and added another hop. That was how it started, Citra, Strata, and then we played around with adding like a Simcoe or a Mosaic, and they were both great, but I really love the Mosaic, and so that kind of took the route. Those 3 hops were the dominant one, and now presently we've thrown in Centennial with it as well.
Okay.
So those 4 hops in different amounts, but this is our second canning run of it, and it's drinking amazing right now. Like that Mosaic in there, I think just provides this nice, light tropical, almost blueberry hint to it, but it still has that dankness and nice body to it, and very balanced.
We attempt to make this show not for the beer nerds per se, but for the folks like ourselves who like to drink maybe too much, but good beer as we do it. Yeah. So, how annoying is the need to follow trends, I guess, when you make an IPA in particular? Because I know what you do here. You do sours. We're talking about saisons in the back before things. As a brewer, maybe not annoying, but is it frustrating sometimes to have to follow this thing, or maybe you don't follow them?
Yeah, you frustrated by me, Matt?
I haven't found any frustration
so
far. No.
Okay, that's a very good answer.
I think we have enough.
You can still work here.
Yes.
He's okay.
I think we have enough fun hops to play with that it keeps it unique to where it's not just the same thing all the time, and so that keeps it fresh, literally. And you hear feedback from customers or whatever that are like, oh, it says juicy IPA, but it's not hazy. Like, what's wrong? Why did you write that? And it's like, well, that's what it is, though. It's like, it's more of a juicy IPA.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't say it's hazy by any means. And then they're like, is it good, though? And they're like, well, yeah, it's delicious, but, like, it's not hazy enough. It's just, you just kind of roll your eyes and just go with it at that point. But
yeah.
At least it's good, right? Like, that's what matters in the end.
And let it be known, we have an English brown on tap, and we also make an Irish red a couple times a year.
Nice.
So I don't think those are trending up right now.
No, yeah.
I'm more than a beer in, so I want to ask this before I forget, and then we'll kind of walk back from that. What were you expecting certain trends to take off in 2020 that perhaps didn't because of COVID-19?
The one thing that I thought was going to take off was lagers, and I think that actually helped lagers, because I think breweries realized they had time with all the unknowns to, like, instead of filling something in their tank that is going to go bad if they're shut down, lager. Like, might as well. It's the time. So I think that was the trend I thought was on the upswing, and will, through this COVID thing, definitely trend upwards.
Yeah.
Other than that, I wasn't really sure what other kind of trends there was going to be. I mean, hazy IPA, it's still going to be done everywhere. That's not going away. But the West Coast IPA I've seen is the one that I figured had to make a comeback at some point. American IPA, West Coast IPA kind of theme. And seeing places like really make an effort to make it the best they possibly can is what's really awesome, because there's a lot of times like just really bland IPA in that style, and you're like, all right, like it's fine, but like trying to find a way to stand out in that is another trend that I kind of thought would happen this year, and I'm seeing more of it, which is awesome.
I was expecting the low-cal IPAs to kind of take off, and I guess as a beer drinker, I was seeing more of it on shelves. But once COVID happened, it was just like, to go back to Odell IPA, like those 12-packs were everywhere,
Yeah, I think people really didn't want to worry about calories.
They weren't. They weren't.
Now I do think seltzer seems to be going up, because people are like, whoa, I just drank a ton of beer for 4 months. Like,
that's
chill for a minute.
That's so true.
Yeah,
that's so true.
Vodka sodas are like a thing.
Oh, my God. Do you guys make a seltzer?
Yes.
You do? Okay.
We've done 2 batches, and we have our 3rd right now.
It's called Bear Claw. Come at us, White Claw.
Come at me, bro.
Yeah.
All right, brewery owner, back to you. Can you walk us through February to March, and you're clearly a smart person in more ways than one. What was going through your head? What kind of conversations were you having with your spouse, with your partner, with your business partner, all of this stuff? And how are you preparing for what seemed to be the inevitable?
I have been thinking about that recently because I was just looking back at old Facebook posts, and one of my friends had posted the coronavirus outbreak in Wuhan, China on January 29th, and it showed a big red spot growing on the map, And I was like, it must have been on my radar because I listened to independent journalism podcasts and stuff every day, so it must have been on my radar. Now it's kind of hard to remember, but I also went to an Ani DeFranco show in early February, packed into a place up in Fort Collins, and don't remember it being on my radar, I think the beginning of March is when it feels like it happened. We did a collaboration with some of Matt's friends from South Dakota, Eponymous Brewing, on Friday, March 13th. Friday the 13th.
I remember that well,
I'll never forget. And I remember they walked in and went to shake my hand, and I was like, whoa, are we still shaking hands? So that's kind of my earliest memory of realizing that shit was about to go down.
Yeah.
And then that weekend, our bar staff was just this was super weird. No one seems to care. And then the directive came out. The prohibition scare came out on Monday, the 16th.
2 hours of shutdown.
Yeah. So I didn't really know.
What were you thinking on the 13th? How are you preparing to shut down, to reopen? What were you thinking? Was it just kind of minute by minute, day by day? Or was there a plan?
Yeah, totally. No plan. I should be better at planning. It's just kind of not how my brain works. I didn't study for the test till the night before.
Yeah,
that
feel ya.
Planning.
We scheduled this interview 12 hours ago. So,
yeah, that's also true. So I'm not alone.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. We did a good job of shifting on the fly. 16th, when Mayor Hancock said that you could be open that day, we were like, we're not going to be open today. It's clearly not in the benefit of public health to be open.
Yeah.
So we just closed right away and did to-go sales. And it was just such a crazy shift. Maybe we should have seen it coming ahead of time, Now it feels like we can see it coming again.
Yeah.
But at the time, it didn't feel real, I guess. And obviously it didn't feel real for a lot of people because you couldn't find crowlers very quickly,
done.
Something's
wrong with my... we got 35 minutes of good video, so we'll just leave it at that. Yeah.
We did a really good job of shifting on the fly, and our team here was very creative in the ways that we could shift and make things
explain
better.
That. In what way?
With just different ways to set up the to-go area, and better signage and logistics, I suppose. And then there was the great crowler shortage of 2020, and so no one could get crowlers for a little bit, or they were on back order. So then we shifted to mobile canning, just as a way to keep selling beer.
So so I assume that you're selling pretty good 4-packs, right, at the moment?
Yeah, they're going okay. Now we're mostly selling them in-house. We were not the only ones that suddenly shifted into mobile canning.
Yeah.
And so the liquor stores, it was already hard to get on the shelves and in the coolers. And they were super swamped with business. And then as the city started to open up, I think liquor stores slowed down business as well.
Yeah.
And so stopped buying as much from, people that don't have a huge name and a huge following.
Okay.
It's kind of my thinking, but we're selling them in here just fine.
Were you canning before?
No, No, we always just bottled sour beer.
Okay, so how did you, I mean, again, as the business owner, how did you seek out and find somebody who would be willing to kind of come in here really quick and put your beer into cans?
Yeah, we're one of 3 cities, I think, that's lucky enough to have craft canning, the business craft canning here.
Yeah.
And they were running like 18 hours a day just trying to help everyone stay afloat.
Who do you use?
It's called Craft Canning.
Oh, it is Craft.
It's a
Okay,
company,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
And they're awesome. I mean, we got our 3 7-barrel tanks hooked up to glycol within that first week of COVID and started emptying them, kegging them off, packaging everything that was in them. They were mostly sour beers in those tanks. So getting those emptied and cleaned really well so that we wouldn't infect hoppy beer, just knowing it seemed like the best play was to make 7 barrels of hoppy beer at a time and get it packaged.
Was it one of those things that you two were talking about, like, we just have to get this thing in a package, or was it we want to? I guess it would just okay, all right.
Yeah.
Like, you have to worry about certain kinds of beer that you make in a can, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's you don't have that much control in a lot of ways, especially when somebody's coming in and just canning it for you.
Yeah, it was something that we've always wanted to do, but just never really made sense. And obviously, this made sense, and now we can adapt, even if things open back up. That if we do want to do canning runs, we have the capability to plan ahead and schedule our brewing cycle to fall in line to maximize what we can. And so, it's really just opened up our thought processes of what works for us and what the people want, and just being creative with that and planning schedule-wise. But
so what have you learned then in the last 4 months?
I mean, obviously, hoppy beer rules all.
Yeah.
But it's kind of just the shelf life, or like what stores want. It's kind of it seems like a random timing thing too. It's in between like the big drops from the big name players. Yeah. Like they'll buy you up right away, but then if their stock full, it's a little slower. So that's another thing we've learned, and it's just kind of in having beer on tap and in can that's different doesn't really seem to slow people down. They're more than willing to pop a can open and drink it in house, and hopefully that encourages some to-go sales in the 4-packs realm. But
what have you learned, Ryan?
Necessity really is the mother of invention, and I don't know what have I learned through COVID?
Yeah, I mean, what are you going to take from this when it's over? Who knows when, or even now as you prepare for the second wave and we prepare for it? Like, is there anything, or is it just trying to survive?
Yeah, 2020 is definitely survival mode. 2021 probably is too, and just getting to the other side. And that necessity drives things, and try to do that creatively, and don't be too stubborn on what you should and shouldn't do based on your previous beliefs about the world.
Yeah.
I suppose. Like, just be ready and know that if we're alive, we're lucky enough. So just keep moving,
What do you think, I guess either one of you can answer this. Do you have any predictions about in 18 months what this will have done to craft beer across the country, not just here in Denver?
I think hopefully I've noticed kind of a re-engaging of neighborhood big time. It seems like now people know, like, a lot of parking lots are turned into the drinking space. So, you're not driving to places. So just finding what's around you and then realizing, like, keeping it in the neighborhood. And I've noticed that has been pretty successful with the limited seating we have. And so that's one positive, I think, we can see down the line, is that you now have a community built around this, hopefully, and it stays that way. Mm-hmm. I mean, people have been very generous, so you got to be thankful for that. Seeing what next week's going to be like is hard enough, so 18 months is like such a hard thought, but
as a head brewer and as an owner, I mean, you guys just must be exhausted by this, right? Like, this has got to be the hardest fucking few months.
Honestly, I just reached like a motivation bottom, I think. I'm just like, God, when is Polis going to pull the plug on this? Just do it already. In one way, and another way, it's just like, if we can get a few more bucks in the bank, we'll be able to ride it out even longer or something, you know?
What are your plans, I guess, in terms of distribution now? Like, is that something that, obviously people like drinking your beer.
Sure.
Would you want to do that? Would you want to get in more stores? Would you, I mean, you have pretty cool fucking cans now.
Yeah, thanks.
People like that stuff.
Kiever.
There you go.
Shout out to John Vogel. Shout out to the Colorado Brewers Guild.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been thinking about that too. Sales is really hard, and I think anyone who's in sales can definitely vouch for that. The return on time investment is tough to feel worthwhile a lot of times. And I don't know how it is now that like going in and sampling accounts on beers and stuff probably isn't like a super fun thing to try to figure out, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel really lucky that we had sour beer in bottles when sour beer was what hazy IPA is now. And, you know, our friends at like Mr. B's and Joy and all the other accounts, Pearl Wine, you know, were interested and brought us in because definitely those relationships have helped a lot. Will that get us through a maybe 3 or 4 month shutdown if influenza and COVID are stacked on top of each other? I don't think so. So I think we'll have to figure out how to expand into other markets, you know?
Yeah. God. Do you lose sleep at night? Or are you over that?
I don't know. No, not really. I mean, historically, over the last 7 years, I've lost a lot of sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Drinking a lot of IPA right now.
What have you, I hate to keep asking the tough questions, but I got to ask it.
Right.
What kind of conversations do you have to have with your employees at the end of March? Have you had to guide them through, you know, getting on unemployment and all of that stuff?
You know, through being open for 6 years, we've always promoted community and our team and the importance of that, and it never really occurred to me as much as it does now that we are providing jobs, you know, and that is one of our responsibilities as a business. And so my main focus was how to keep everybody employed. We also, you know, technically we have like 17 employees on payroll, but most of them work maybe once a year, you know, on our anniversary or something like that. Like most of our technical staff has other jobs elsewhere. Mm-hmm. So there was 6 of us through when COVID hit that were like full time, you know,
Sure.
And so everyone else understood that they didn't need to be taking up those hours.
Yeah.
So we were able to pay, and we got the PPP loan. So we created other work through that, and we were able to keep everybody on. You know,
nice.
we didn't lay anybody off. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but yeah, it is a tough question. Like, that is my goal, is to keep everyone employed and paid a livable wage and to live a good, balanced life. I think at this point, when people see the world crumbling around them, sometimes no one's going to be, I think everyone's on edge, you know, so.
It seems a little bit more stressful now than it even did at the end of March, quite honestly. And there's obvious reasons why that is. But it's hard. It's hard to be a parent in these times. It's hard to obviously be an owner of a business at these times. But let's close up. I want to ask you, let's end on a high note.
Sure.
As we move forward, what is one thing that not you've learned about, you know, the business, but about humanity moving forward. That is a good thing. And Matt, I'll start with you. Over the last few months, of kind of being down here, downtown Denver, where a lot of the action is going on in a city where a shitload of action is getting covered by national media and everything. What is there something you've learned and something you've taken that really makes you feel good about, we're going to get out of this and it's going to be fine?
I mean, the working from here, the support from the community has really been awesome. And then just words of encouragement and, friends just constantly sharing, like, our posts just for, trying to encourage support. It's been eye-opening and really encouraging, especially in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
Like, having friends in other cities and seeing how things are going there and stuff, I'm, like, pretty proud of how mostly the city seems to really have that global idea of wanting to get through this and do what they need to in many ways. And so feel very fortunate with that. And then having Ryan here just to communicate with us and then just offer any support and help and need, anything we need. Same with the other employees here. It's just very comforting and supportive. And I feel like that kind of is the vibe of the city here. And so in that aspect, I think good things can come down the line much sooner than, sooner. I don't know what that really means right now,
but I mean, I knew I came in as soon as I came in here and you were both wearing your masks. Like, it wasn't, oh, do I have to put my mask on? No, you were just wearing your masks, right? Like, it was not. You just assume that the other person wants you to wear their mask and you put your fucking mask on, right? Like, that's you don't have to get too far south or north though where that doesn't happen, FYI. But
I've been to some other towns.
Ryan, what have you learned from this? What at the end of the day, you've got a kid, you're going to take something away positive from this. What is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's been actually really great to be raising a child in the midst of a positive second wave of Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
And, there's this amazing Kimya Dawson song you should all look up called At the Seams. And he just sings that all the time.
Yeah.
And it's a sad and happy song, it's beautiful. And I think, I've often kind of had a negative view on society, and I really feel like we're in the middle of something that is horrible and awesome at the same time. And I really hope it sticks, at least in legislation and in a lot of people's hearts, that, like, we all need to look out for each other. And I think we've seen that in all the different layers of life right now, through the community really supporting us when we were just doing to-go beer, to a massive pandemic of one of the most infectious things we've ever seen, and taking to the streets every day for a week and a half here in Denver, And I'll give a shout out to Governor Polis. Like, I think relative to the rest of the, what you're seeing, like, I appreciate him taking it seriously and believing in science and as a science-based business. And I do overall see that people do care about each other and about the future, and maybe they're starting to realize how it can impact generations beyond them with how we're acting right now. And we're very lucky to make beer for a living in the middle of all this too. Beer has never felt more necessary to the daily lives of people.
Oh my God, isn't that true? For sure. We'll have to.
Was that positive?
It was very positive, and there's more to talk about once we shut these mics off. But where can we find Baere in terms of websites and social media and all of that, and also, everybody get in here. But the social follows.
Sure. Yeah, we're at www.
http://www.baerebrewing.com.
It's not a very well-built website, so go to shopbaer.com.
Okay.
for our online ordering.
And that's Baere.
Oh yeah, Baere. It's thought to have meant, it means barley, and it's thought to have meant beer back in the day, but that history is lost.
Okay. The Romans burn it or some shit?
And at Baere Brewing on Instagram and Twitter, although our Twitter account isn't very active.
Yeah, unless you're a troll or a gambler. There's not a lot on Twitter.
I know. And then, you can find us in a spattering of liquor stores around the Denver metro area. And our sticker is on the walk-in of a lot of other breweries you should go visit as well.
Thank you, gentlemen, so much. Air cheers. My God, I appreciate it. It was so fun to get down here and finally have a conversation with both of you. Baere Brewing, get down here on Broadway. Just go to 6th, exit 6th East. Go south on 6th, and you're on the left. It's not too far, right? You're across the street from a 7-Eleven, and is it a Chinese food restaurant?
We got a Chinese place next door. Yeah, 3rd and Broadway. If you're thinking about trying to just gun it through that green light at 3rd, maybe just stop. Pull into our parking lot.
And with that, we're going to close up shop. Thanks, guys.